An A plus for Prime Minister of England, Boris Johnson, who was brave enough to travel to Kyiv and meet in person and walk in the streets of Kyiv with Vladimir Zelensky. Yeah, I try and pronounce it as well as I can. This is Dr. David D. Shine. Welcome to Saving America. And as our regular audience knows, is that I've had a series of F grades for politicians, so-called celebrities, and business people who deserve a little extra bump for their failure. And in doing so, we occasionally overlook the folks that should get an A+ award. So we just awarded our first A+ award about a week ago. And now we're awarding our second one, again, to Prime Minister Boris Johnson for having the bravery and world leadership to step forward, show up in Kyiv, and show the rest of the world what it's all about to be a leader. While basement Biden hides out, Johnson does the work that Biden ought to be doing. And I think what's important to see here is that the world has figured out that Kyiv didn't fall in 2 days. Gee, isn't it interesting that we don't have good information? People didn't think Afghanistan would fail at all, and it failed in a couple days. And now we have the exact opposite situation. Does it make you wonder who's in charge, who's really providing the data, the information? How do we know these things? We only know them through experience, and that's unfortunate because sometimes we get it wrong. Clearly, the world and its so-called world leader, the United States, should have been doing more earlier for Ukraine. Hey, maybe back during Obama's administration in 2014, when Russia illegally took Crimea from Ukraine. Yeah, that was the first step. That's when the sanctions, which are not working today, might have had some impact if they'd been put into effect in 2014 and had been strictly enforced since that time. We might not be dealing with the current issue. I want to particularly cite Johnson's speech that was recorded, and he said the following: "I think that Ukrainians have shown the courage of a lion. But you, Vladimir, have given the roar of the lion. I thank you for what you have been able to do. I think your leadership has been extraordinary." That is from not an American leader, but from Prime Minister of England, Boris Johnson. Now, if you're not totally familiar with him, he is a conservative leader in the line of conservative leaders that goes back more recently to Margaret Thatcher, who was one of the more popular prime ministers of England, and even goes back to someone that we studied in world history, and that's Benjamin Disraeli, who lived in the 19th century and set a new standard for conservatism. Now, I'd ask my audience to think about this. Why would Biden want the war to continue? Why dribble aid out and to Ukraine so that they lose tens of thousands of civilians in this needless, terrible situation? The Commission of War Crimes has sharply escalated as Russia has had more and more trouble taming the Ukrainian lion. And by all means, there's no certainty that Ukraine will actually win this war without a lot more help and a lot faster help. And I'm also, again, concerned about the incredible tragedy of the civilians that have been slaughtered in this situation. And we don't know the worst of it yet. And so I think it's important for us to look at what's really happening here. Well, one of the reasons that we're allowing or seeing this situation allowed is because Ukraine is sucking up a lot of the oxygen in the room. There are certainly news events that happen that pull it off the front page, or at least the top of the fold, as they used to say when people read real newspapers. But what's really happening here is that inflation, crime, perverts teaching our young students, and a failing American infrastructure are not on the front page, are not at the top of the fold as long as the Ukrainian situation passes. And I'm sorry to sound so cynical, but I think it's important that we get our preferences straight and our priorities straight, and we make sure that America does the right thing for the right reason at the right time. Thanks for joining us. This is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.